In accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act of the State of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Franklin Township Environmental Commission was made by posting on the bulletin board in the municipal building, posted on the township website, and electronically transmitted to the officially designated newspapers, indicating that this meeting would take place at the council chambers here in the municipal building. Okay, that gets rid of that. Now we'll do a roll call. Walter Andrews.
Here.
Ted Chase.
Here.
Easy. Here. Jessica Johnson. Stan.
Here.
Arnold.
Here.
Robin.
Here.
Maria. Maria's here. She's not here.
Maria's not.
Okay, right, okay. I'm here. Tanya's here. Tabitha rather. Ed's not here either. Ed,
He just walked in.
Oh, Ed's good. Good. Okay. Good. Okay. Takes care of that. I have just a few things to say. Let me find the right papers. What do I do with that?
How are you?
This is the chair report. The BPU has requested comments on a proposal by Public Service Electric and Gas to convert streetlights to LEDs. Bob Vornlacker requested comments. I sent Bob my copy of a letter which was sent to the BPU in 2020. Bob liked it and asked that I rewrite it as a joint letter of the Franklin Township and the Environmental Commission. We have the letter here, but just in a matter of time, I'll just say the letter that I wrote was okay, and Bob sent it to the BPU. So, I want to mention we'll be embarking on a campaign later on, not tonight, to develop a climate action plan for Franklin Township. This is the precursor to putting together a sustainability element for the township master plan. When completed, that sequence will form the basis for ordinances pertaining to green roof requirements and other things like water conservation. That completes the chair report. Deanie, we want to mention, where's Deanie? Deanie, why don't you get up and introduce yourself?
Thanks. That's better. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nandini Checco, and I work for the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions. And I just wanted to come by and say hello to the Franklin Township Environmental Commission and all you folks here, such a hardworking group. So we are a 54-year-old organization that supports local environment and commissioners. So these are obviously your neighbors who are volunteering to do this work of keeping the integrity of Franklin Township's environment. So please give them a round of applause. I'm happy to see so many folks here, and that's all I'm going to say, and we'll talk more next time.
Very good. Thanks very much. Okay. Next is the approval of the March 6 minutes. Ed or anybody have any comments to changes or amendments? Minutes from March 6th. Motion to accept the minutes?
We accept the minutes of the March 6th.
Second? All in favor? Minutes are accepted. Moving right along. Yes, Stan? Oh, no, he didn't have anything. No? Yeah. Well, the next part of the agenda is public comment. And we need a motion to open the meeting to the public.
Make a motion to open.
Second?
All in favor? Yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, one thing, because of the size of the crowd and the late and how long this is going to run, we have 5 different building plans. We want to limit each speaker to 5 minutes. Okay? Okay. It's still anybody in the public?
With the ability to come.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Anybody want to come up and make a statement? We have the podium there. If you come here, be careful of the wires.
Okay.
That's what I said.
Not good.
You want to introduce yourself?
Thank you. I'm Anthony Riccio, a resident of Canal Walk, and I come here to present my views and comments, which I'd like to just give, but go over a couple of the highlights which I think are critical to the future of the county. One, I have 50 years' experience in government and the private sector. I was Director of Research and Policy for the City of New York under Ed Koch and Commission of the Department of Ports, International Trade and Commerce. I left when Ed left. You get fired, by the way. And I became a private developer working for a Northeast developer with over 11 million square feet of space in its inventory. So I've been involved in many land use plans. The most significant was the creation of the New York State and New York City Environmental Quality Review Act. And that act required state and city to consider environmental impacts equally with the improvement, economic development of projects like B9. My statement includes the shortcomings of the project, and I'll leave that. There still are traffic analysis issues, air quality, noise conflicts, and preserving the vision that created the Metlers Road Colonial Scenic Corridor. Okay. But as my preface states, there's an important, more important issue, a tragic irony at the center of this process. As I proceed, keep in mind 200 feet, 6 mailboxes. That gives you a vision. With due respect to what I saw in the revisions, it's a technicality attempt to avoid the very corrections that were enacted by Ordinance 4371, which were to prevent another mistake like B9. An attempt to grandfather B9 is a travesty. At the same time, the very people who fought for this project, these people who I have so much respect for, I was not part of it. What got me involved when I heard a government official say, during a process, it's a done deal. That is tragic. Okay. So at the same time, with their proposal, if in fact approved, the very people who fought the project to bring the correct direction back to the county cannot benefit. They're going to have to breed 6 mailboxes, 200 feet. They're going to have to breed, continue to breed the very corrections they fought to change. I believe this process will not be resolved here at this level. God bless you all. It will require legislative and maybe governmental governor's approval. So I'm going to leave that, and I'll just leave I have like 5 copies, and you guys.
Oh, very good.
I want to thank you for letting me speak.
Be careful.
Yeah.
I'm good.
What? Yeah.
I'm old, but I'm good.
Jan, you want to speak? Be careful. Watch your wife. Marie's here now.
If I could just.
Okay. Yes, Pearson, she's-
Jan Brandt, 22 Bryant Court, and sorry, Anthony, I want to correct you. It's actually it's not 200 feet. The 200 feet is the people that get notified. So actually, this project is set back 100 feet. So it's not 200 feet. And then the street of Metlers Road is actually 34 feet. So anyway, and I wanted to talk about it, and what I don't think, okay, yeah, no, and it's not 3 mailboxes. But, the thing that I handed out to you all is, this was in the Comprehensive Farmland Preservation Plan, and it's really tiny, but I kind of circled B9 over there, and if you look at that, in that circle, the top portion of that circle, and if you look at like that little brown area on that left side, that's actually where I live. I'm like, setback from from Mettler's Road. And there's quite a few of us set back, but really this kind of thing affects the whole community. It's just not my house. It's really the whole community of seniors that are going to be affected by this project. But if you look at that map, that top portion, that's Lot 1, Block 514, and that's actually wetlands. And they've submitted application to the DEP and all, and they have a little small portion, designated as the wetlands. But, I actually went walking, I'm right across the street, went walking up the property, and it's just all wet. And, with wetlands, it's, you cover that up, and I think they want to cover up about 50, I don't know, it's in the 50s%. And you cover up all that wetlands, right now we've gotten flooded, so that would really be terrible. And then if you look right below that, that is agriculture. And if you see right where that circle is, there's like a little line towards the bottom of the circle. That's actually a lake. And I've taken pictures of turtles there, frogs there. It's beautiful. And I don't even want to start talking about, I'm going to get like Debbie. Sorry, Debbie. The other day I was walking and, there's deer, there's bird. I mean, it's gorgeous. And, they say that they're not going to infringe on the lake and all. But, if you're building it, if you looked at those plans, how far away they are from the lake. And then there's also wetlands further back that on lot 60. The wetlands that shows up over here at the top of the property, where that blue is, that's actually lot 1. So there's 2 areas of wetlands. And, and of course you all know about the scenic corridor. It's on the scenic corridor. And I kind of think that when they did this, when you look at the plans, and I know you all have examined the plans, you'll see that Bryant Court, the street, you'll see that development that's like right on the other side of Bryant Court isn't even on like the maps of some of the things. So I wonder when they were, negotiating this project, and by the way, the contract, according to the Somerset County records, this project is still under contract. And I have heard from a couple people that these type of places, that buy property and want to build warehouses, usually these contracts are contingent. So according to the Somerset County website, their deed has not been signed. There's no closing date on that. So, I'm worried about the wildlife. I'm worried about the wetlands. I'm worried about flooding. It's 24/7. This is going to be like constant noise. Literally, I'm less than 200 feet away. And the parking lot that they have is actually the first thing. I know that they have the building and all the trucks are going to be, on the inside of it. However, 24/7 is a big deal. And today I was examining the traffic plans, and I know you guys probably read the environmental impact statement, and pretty much their warehouse is just going to make everything, better according to, it's not going to affect the community, it's not going to affect the health of anybody when you read their, their statement and all. It's the thing that, the traffic part, in their traffic impact study, they consider this a warehouse. And that goes with the 150, land 150. And when I was reading this really isn't a warehouse. And that's the false part of it, because this is a fulfillment center. It's over if you read the warehouse guidelines from the state, they have 3 different types of warehouses. There's a warehouse that you just keep stuff in, and it's usually small, and you really don't mess from it. But then there's 2 other kinds of warehouses, and both of them are fulfillment centers, and they have to have over 200,000 square feet, which this one does, and there's a large fulfillment center and a smaller fulfillment center. And I looked at the land development and, what's allowed in BI, but I don't see anything about fulfillment centers. Amazon's a fulfillment center, and Amazon had to go through, having community input. I mean, they had to go through a lot in order to put that there. This fulfillment center has 60 bays. If you notice in the plans, they want to have storage spots for all these. This is not a typical warehouse. And by us using that word for it, warehouse, it's really not a warehouse. What warehouses store things and they don't need 60 bays? There's a warehouse like 70 feet away, 700 feet away, that it's on 70 Schoolhouse. They have like 5 bays, and I could hear them sometimes, but it's only 5 bays, and I don't hear them all the time. But a warehouse doesn't have 60 bays. This is a big fulfillment center that they want to put less than 200 feet away from a community of 2,000, over 2,000 people, and this is just, on so many aspects, this is just not right. Paul's telling me my time's up. Thank you so much, everybody.
I gave you some more. You know, I did.
Juan Kwan, 28 Jay's Corner. I want to extend the conversation here about B9 because truly it is not your typical warehouse, as we all know. And Jan was very, very articulate in saying that as a fulfillment center, this is really not within the confines of what we believe the master plan was looking at when they converted to BI zone and included warehouses. I don't even think the idea of fulfillment centers was even in the cards when they first did this back in 2016, and then revised in 2020. But be that as it may, because there's 60 bays, I want you to focus on the point that particulate matter 2.5. And why is that important? Because that's what trucks, particularly diesel trucks and other 18-wheelers, are producing into our atmosphere in and around residential communities and schools. The problem with this specific particulate matter is that it has been studied and has been proven that they get stuck in the lungs as you breathe it in and causes cancer. And it is particularly more dangerous to young and to the old. And that is where this B9 project is. And I understand that you are an advisory committee to the township and to the planning board, but it's time for you guys to emphasize, and I ask you kindly to emphasize vehemently, that this is a particular issue that is of consequence, not only to the people there now, but for everybody in Franklin Township. As we increase the number of warehouses, we're increasing this matter into the atmosphere and affecting our children, the next generation. So I really ask you to focus on that. That's number one. And number two, I also ask you to look at the scenic corridor, because as part of the scenic corridor, they may have backed off and had their design inside of the boundaries of what is legally acceptable. However, as an environmental committee, they are cutting down an enormous number of trees. And my understanding of the scenic corridor is, and also of the tree ordinance, is that the third option is to place $300 into the tree fund. That's the third option. The first option is to look at the project and say that not for the maximum size of the project, but if trees can be saved and they can design a building that fits in conformity without cutting down as many trees as they are, which I've heard numbers anywhere from 500 to 1,000, where the tree trunks, because they're 30 feet tall, cannot be replaced today. And so for them to put in $300 for that tree would be an enormous disservice to us as a community. Not only that, it's not economic. Doesn't make any sense. You could probably only get an 8-foot tree for $300 today. So I just ask that you guys really consider this and strongly advise the township and the planning board. Thank you.
Debbie Stewart, 2 Farrington Plaza. First of all, I want to say, whatever I say, I know I am preaching to the choir. And everybody here should know this. These are our greatest allies, and they will do whatever they can to help us within their power. Yeah, so I am really confused. And I was reading the master plan, and I looked at the portion that said conservation. Part of the conservation plan is as follows: not impacting sensitive environmental features such as wetlands, floodplain, groundwater, forested areas, species habitat, not creating burdens upon the circulation system, and fitting in with the desired character of an area. This is the master plan from our township. Promote retention of wildlife and species diversity by conserving contiguous tracts of differing vegetative types, maintain design and siting standards to protect the township's historic and rural character, particularly in villages and along scenic corridors. So if this is our township plan, and we are on a scenic corridor, how is this even a notion that this could go in that area? I know it's zoning, and that's what it's going to get back to, but it's wrong. Somebody made a big, big boo-boo somewhere, and I'm just hoping your commission can do whatever they can to reverse this plan, to shrink this plan, to do what you can. And, you know, what scared, the other day I was driving here, I got so emotional at the last meeting. I looked at those beautiful evergreen trees on the corner that are just so gorgeous. And the snow was on the boughs. And I drove by on the way to the meeting and I said, oh my gosh, I might actually drive by here someday and not see those beautiful trees, but see a gigantic, ugly warehouse. And we're never going to get that beauty back. They made that a scenic corridor for a purpose, because it's a beautiful piece of land, and it's in a part of our township that is a little bit ignored in terms of beauty. And you know, they've designated that this is where we're plopping the businesses, this is where we're putting the warehouses, so let's just continue to do that. But that's even more of a reason that we have to preserve that corridor. So anyway, I don't want to take any more time. But please do whatever you can to help us, and I know you will. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shauna College, and I live at 2201 Jockey Hollow Trail in Canal Walk, or Enclave. I've got some more concerns. My husband and I live in a condo that faces Schoolhouse Road. Now, we know trucks aren't supposed to go on that road, but guess what? They do, and they do it early in the morning because a lot of people sleep late. So they're there, they make noise. So if we have a warehouse like this and it's not limited to hours and it's 24/7, we all know that they're on a time crunch and they're going to come down West Canal Road, go up Schoolhouse, and that's a dangerous area in front of Canal Walk where Schoolhouse is. Cars park there constantly in a little area, and they're going to get hit, those trucks, and they also idle on Schoolhouse Road. I don't know how they sit there and nobody gets hurt, but it's an accident waiting to happen, and until somebody gets killed, which is going to be pretty soon, if you don't limit or discuss with about the trucks. 24/7, you need big signs. You don't have any big signs or little signs, which I know that's not your issue, but if you could report it back, because I can't see those signs, and I'm, pretty good eyesight, and those signs are so small. So we have to limit. It can't be 24/7 because you're asking for a lot of trouble. Noise pollution, 24/7, we're going to hear it, and trucks will go day and night. Noise pollution and light pollution. It's just, I don't know what they were thinking of this B9 project, but we do have to limit. It cannot be a 24/7. If it goes through, it cannot be a 24/7. For someone's going to get hurt, and it's going to disturb somebody. And also, there's going to be an issue of coming out of our development if trucks are coming down. So I don't know what you can do and talk to them, but we cannot have trucks coming down on that road. And I know you say call the police and all that. Well, the police are going to take 2, 3, 4 hours to come, and the trucks are going to be gone. But they do idle on the street on Schoolhouse Row. I think that's it. It's a safety issue too, not only for our seniors for breathing in, but it's also an safety issue for driving too, because we have to be careful the way we drive, You know how seniors are known for their driving things, so you got to help us. Okay, thank you.
Sheila, Jockey Hollow Trail with. Go ask her.
Okay. Enid Doyle, 37 Bryan Court. You can hear- This is just page 13 of the State Planning Commission policy. I'm just going to read it. It says, mitigate and avoid conflicts with other uses, sensitive populations, and receptors by locating large warehouses away from residential areas, neighborhoods, downtown commercial, retail areas, and main streets, schools, daycare centers, places of worship, hospitals, overburdened communities, scenic corridors, and historic districts, important public and civic outdoor spaces, and recreational facilities. Now, that's from the State Planning Commission policy, and B9, being built there, touches every one of these things. There's schools there, there's Colonial Park right there, and we hope that you will take that in consideration, okay? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Paula Schwartz. I live at 69 Bayard Road in Canal Walk. I've been here for, next month will be 20 years. We moved in because we wanted to be in a more of a country type of area, and we actually love it here. I have to say I do have asthma, and I'm just right now recovering from an asthmatic bronchitis problem. When I was driving a couple of weeks ago on Randolph Road, I saw a lineup of huge tractor trailers waiting to get into Amazon, and they all were idling. And then there were more actually in there, in through the driveway, and I couldn't believe it. I thought we weren't supposed to have any trucks idling for any length of time. So I wasn't going to call the police because I knew by the time I got home and did that, it would be too late. But for people like me, I'm 82, I'm asthmatic, and just want to have, quality of life, and this is why we moved to this area. I hope you will all consider that and try to help us. Thank you.
Joe Hoffman, 5 Congress Court. I came tonight to talk about wetlands, but Jan kind of stole my thunder, so, okay. But you did fail to mention one thing, and that's one fact that I did find, and the fact is that the loss of wetlands can increase flood peaks up to 80%. And as Jan said, after a heavy rain, we already have ponding on Metlers Road that we have to drive through every day. And that's just a heavy rain, not an Ida or a Sandy, when the road would probably be closed. The other thing, too, is we just feel that Link Logistics is kind of doing the minimum to get their application approved. For example, the wetlands classification. I still don't understand what they have done or are doing to get the appropriate classification of wetlands, because that will determine what applications and permits they need to get from the NJDEP. The other thing, too, is soil classification. They apparently dug down 6 feet, and they should have dug down 7 feet. And again, I think they knew that by digging down further, they might not get the classification they're looking for that will get them the approval that they need. The other two things I wanted to bring up are, I find it confounding that there hasn't been a comprehensive traffic study done. They've done a traffic study for that warehouse. As we all know, there are like 5 or 6 warehouses within a half-a-mile radius, many of which aren't even online yet. So I don't know how you can look at one little warehouse and the trucks that they're going to generate when you have the cumulative effect of all these trucks that will be coming onto our roadways from all the warehouses that are coming online. The other thing, too, is a comprehensive noise study. There are firms that exist today that can actually predict the noise that will emanate from these warehouses. It's not so much the trucks. Yes, the trucks will generate noise. It is the forklifts that will load and unload these tractor trailers because they have a much higher decibel level that's required by OSHA, and that's the noise that's going to keep us up all hours of the night. So if we don't restrict the hours of operations, we're going to be hearing that piercing noise 24/7. So again, I just think that someone's got to look at the bigger picture and say, how will these communities, whether it's Canal Walk or Somerset Run or Summerfields, are going to be impacted when these things all come online? Thank you.
My name is Angelica Granados. I live in Canal Walk also in 3307 Jockey Hollow Trail. I want to read from the report, the environmental assessment report of B9 with regards to air quality. It says existing air quality surrounding this site is typical of an industrial zone in a central New Jersey suburban setting. There are existing hazardous air pollutants which come from cars, heavy-duty trucks, buses, and other vehicles. Those vehicles produce diesel particulate matter, diesel exhaust, and/or carbon monoxide. These are known health standards associated with these pollutants. Current air quality readings taken from surrounding areas report the presence of pollutants such as carbon monoxide at an air quality index range of 30 to 40. And it says that the 30 to 40 is less than the 2 times the allowable one, which is 100. But it says also that the air quality index readings in Farmington Township can be expected to be similar to those recorded in surrounding areas. So my question is, where did they take these readings and when? And it seems that it was not in Franklin Township because the last sentence says Franklin Township can be expected to be similar to those recorded in surrounding areas. I mean, did they take it in Schoolhouse Road where there are so many bear houses? And then the next paragraph says, there may be some temporary airborne dust particulates associated with construction process, but these conditions will be localized and will dissipate with the stoppage of each workday. Dust will be controlled through daily watering of the construction entrances and exits and circulation aisles and cleaning of the streets in close proximity to same as necessary. So that means that during the construction, we in Canal Walk will be inhaling all those dust that in the construction area, and I doubt that they're going to be dissipated by, watering it and cleaning. Thank you very much. That's it. All right.
Hi, I'm Toby Kramer, 55 Bryan Court in Canal Walk. I brought this, hopefully you guys are all familiar with it. It was adopted in September 2022. It's the Distribution, Warehousing, and Goods Movement Guidelines that the New Jersey State Planning Commission adopted. I understand that it's not the law, but it is the policy that state of New Jersey wants us to adopt and wants municipalities to align themselves with. every word in this document supports our argument that a warehouse with 60 bays has no business on a scenic corridor next to a community of over 2,000 senior citizens, operating 24 hours a day with 18-wheeler trucks. So, and I think you guys all agree. I can't imagine anybody disagrees with that in this room. The problem is that it's a policy guideline, and everyone's saying, well, it's not the law. But what I'd like to ask the Planning Commission is to help us figure out what we can do, because this hasn't been built yet. And we have worked so hard to make sure that Franklin Township in particular is not destroyed by the encroachment of these warehouses on our country roads. And so there has to be something that we can do that aligns with the new state policy guidelines that prevents this warehouse from being built, regardless of when the application was made, because at this point, it's acknowledged throughout the state and probably throughout the country that warehouses are not good on rural country roads next to residential neighborhoods. So thank you, and if you don't have this or know it, please take a look at it and help us align our township with the sentiment in these guidelines. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brad Ferenz, 93 Saratoga. I'm not going to go into the environmental impact or the noise or anything else. I'm going to ask if there are any attorneys on this group. And if there are, I'm going to make a suggestion to you. We're not talking about a warehouse. It is not a warehouse. I'm a retired Superior Court judge. I sat in Middlesex for 20 years. And I think Somerset's got a problem, and Franklin in particular has a problem. You're not talking about someplace where you drop off goods, and on occasion you pick them back up. You're talking about a place where goods are en route for a very brief amount of time are in place, and then there's a constant line of small trucks taking them out for delivery purposes. This is not a warehouse. I don't think you should refer to it as a warehouse. It is a fulfillment center. When this place was zoned, they did not have fulfillment centers. They didn't have Jeff Bezos. They didn't have the kind of Amazon that we have today. It's a completely different world. And I would suggest to you that when this gets litigated, and I don't think that the township is going to be smart enough to put a hold on it, when it gets litigated, there's going to be a court somewhere that's going to take a look at this and say, yeah, warehouses is one thing, but 60 bays and an ongoing train of traffic, and it is a train of traffic. You can see the small delivery trucks, one after the other, lined up, is not what was intended, was not what was thought of, and was not what was included when they zoned this the way they zoned it. It's not a warehouse, folks. Call it what it is. Fulfillment center.
Hey, Andrew, just before we have another speaker from the public, but just before we do that, I want to make two things. I've just decided, we're going to take the minutes of this meeting and attach them to the report that we give to the planning board, so that they'll have what the public has talked about. That'll get your voice right to the planning board. And I just want to say, I come in here, I came down the back road through the park, but I turned from Weston onto Metlers, and I had to wait because a tractor trailer came up Metlers and made the left turn onto Weston. Big logistics truck. I waved to the guy, but of course he kept going. So that completes our warehouse public testimony. But we have a guest here. Andrew? Yes. Okay. I think just speak. Be good. This is a different subject, but it's something else that is important to the state.
Just use my phone.
Introduce yourself first, Dan.
I'm Andrew Tan. I live in Somerset on 6 Nicole Drive. And just one second. All right, so I'm here to present why Franklin Township should support the New Jersey Green Amendment, which will be Senate Bill SCR 15 and Assembly Bill ACR 72. Thank you. A little bit about me. I live on Nicole Drive, as I said. I'm a freshman at Rutgers Preparatory School. I'm a varsity rower in Rutherford, and I'm a member of the NJSSC, which is the New Jersey Student Sustainability Coalition. And this organization has over 650 high school and college student members, and this is one of the primary organizations working to pass the New Jersey Green. So I regularly go to the Delaware and Raritan Canal State Park Trail. Most of the people I know just call it the towpath by the canal, and I usually go there to just like bike or walk with my family, or sometimes like my school is like right next to the canal, so we run there for cross country. And this like environment is something I want to preserve, so I can still have like time to myself in nature, and like my kids and future generations can still enjoy this. And the 6 Mile Run State Park is somewhere I also go often, and this is another place I like want to continue enjoying. So what is the New Jersey Green Amendment? It's a proposed amendment to the New Jersey Constitution that will put environmental rights on par with other constitutional rights. It's rights such as clean air, clean water, and stable climate and a healthy environment. So this would be on par with like freedom of speech, the right to bear arms, all those other rights. Some other towns that are endorsing the Green Amendment currently are Metuchen, Hunterdon, Burlington County, Essex County, Aberdeen Township, Cape May, Port, Borough of Bradley Beach, and Highland Park. New Jersey's proposed Green Amendment amends Article 1 of the state constitution by adding a new paragraph 24, which states that every person has a right to clean and healthy environment, including pure water, clean air, and ecologically healthy habitats, and to the preservation of natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic qualities of the environment. The state shall not infringe upon these rights by action or inaction. The state's public natural resources, among them its waters, air, flora, fauna, climate, and public lands, are the common property of all the people, including both present and future generations. The state shall serve as a trustee of these resources and shall conserve and maintain them for the benefit of all people. This paragraph and the rights stated herein are self-executing and shall be in addition to any rights conferred by the public trust doctrine or common law. What is the problem? Many communities in New Jersey, especially low-income and minority communities, are suffering from environmental degradation. Entities like corporate entities are not held accountable for polluting and harming communities, and there is no constitutional leverage for communities to protect themselves. And I've heard like many statements from around, and I believe this would help some of these problems. We would prevent pollution of greenhouse gases and fossil fuel, and Woodbridge plans a second natural gas power plant which would produce lots of greenhouse gases, and possible methane leaks would contribute heavily to climate change. We want to prevent microplastics in the water and air, industrial pollutants like PFAS, and we need to prevent New Jersey Superfund chemicals from getting into the water during like a heavy storm or a hurricane. The Passaic River is somewhere I row often, though it's not within Franklin Township. It's a notable victim of pollution, and I go here to row nearly every day, and we have to avoid debris such as plastics, garbage, and even like TVs just floating in the water. We're warned about dioxin and chromium and mercury in the water, so if we like flip in a boat, we have to like take a shower immediately. We want to prevent this from happening to other places with the Green Amendment. So some examples of nature in Franklin Township that we want to preserve are Colonial Park, Rudolph W. Van Der Goot Rose Garden, Griggstown Native Grassland Preserve, Negri Napote Native Grassland Preserve, Inman Park, 6 Mile Run State Park, and the canal towpath. We need a green amendment because clean water, air, and thriving nature are essential for us and future generations to live happily and healthily. Our environmental rights should be protected in the same way we protect our other basic human rights. And why pass a resolution of support? It would send a powerful message that we care about leaving youth with a safe, habitable, and beautiful environment. It would also encourage politicians to support this amendment, and it would provide hope for my generation. New Jersey residents deserve a right to vote on whether or not to pass the Green Amendment, as it affects them and their environment. Demonstrations of community support gets us one step closer to getting it on the ballot. This fits in with your mission statement, which states that you are working to preserve and protect our precious natural resources and quality of life in all parts of the township. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I'm Fei Tian. I live in 6 Nicole Drive, Franklin Township. I'm Andrew Tian's mom. And I very appreciate, I suppose now stand up to speak, but I very appreciate everybody serious care about the environment. That's really make me, impress me. I came from Hong Kong and China. I went through how fast China developing, care about economic, and how they pollute the environment. And Andrew maybe point out, why sometime, we have to care about environment because effect of the low-income people things. Don't you think it affect everybody? I know that warehouse issue is not just warehouse. It's about environment. So I also look at everybody here, mostly just senior, gray hair. I appreciate that. But I really think we should support like the Green Amendment, this kind of program, because we need to make the young people, young students to care about it. We need to care about the forest, not only economic, not just money, okay? We live on the earth. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think that that completes the public comments. Motion to close the public comment, or this move to close. Second? All in favor? Interesting, I didn't know Andrew was going to speak tonight. We heard he was going to come, and then he had to postpone. But the next item on the list is correspondence. And I got a letter this afternoon, an email, from Dr. Devin Berry, Art of Dentistry on World's Fair Drive. That's your dentist? And he says, understand, high school student Andrew Tan is speaking at the Environmental Commission this evening to support the Green Amendment. And the Green Amendment is a proposed addition to the New Jersey Constitution, which will elevate clean air, clean water, and healthy ecological habitats for all, so forth. And he goes on and on. But this was the letter I got this afternoon, which followed. It was great to go after it. Is there any other correspondence that we have? Jessica, anything?
Yeah, we did get an email from, that's very loud. We got an email from a gentleman named Frost, inquiring about whether we were taking advantage of Sustainable Jersey PSE&G partner. So I'll just forward that to you. That was it. That was all.
Okay. We can, if you want to correspond, go ahead. Yeah.
I have a couple things I'd like to say. First of all, to all of you who came tonight, thank you. And it does not land on deaf ears. I would like to make a few specific.
You want the microphone?
I've got it. Thank you.
Oh, you got one. Okay.
I would encourage you to engage your own traffic study. I learned this the hard way. You may know Sedan Farms is right on Route 20. And across the street from us is now an unpermitted, but approved by variance, gas station. And when we finally took them to court, because North Brunswick defeated them, they went to court. We had to follow them to court because we had not engaged our own traffic study. We could not bring it as evidence by the time we got to court. So I encourage you all, pool your money. If you think a traffic study is warranted, a comprehensive regional, meaning within Franklin Warehouse District traffic study is warranted, do it. Then you can bring it forward. Don't wait till it's too late. Same thing with noise and air quality. On the air quality question, when you talked about where was that air quality sighting made, having spent time earlier this week with Eleanor on the phone with a Rutgers expert, the closest EPA monitoring site is in Bedminster at the old AT&T complex. Do you know how far away that is? If you can conduct your own, I encourage you to, but it was not, it doesn't sound like it would be acceptable. The EPA one is the one that's accepted, and it's a long way away. Do we have a wetlands determination?
We're waiting for,
Okay, and that was my thinking, that see where that is and try to see what that letter says. It carries a great deal of weight. We cannot change whatever the DEP says about wetlands as much as we might like to. So that's a very critical determination. You haven't mentioned wildlife corridors, but looking at Jan's map and the green circle, I would encourage you to talk about wildlife corridors. I'll mention it here tonight. If you get a chance, read David Wells' article. It was in yesterday's New York Times. I believe it was there. If not, I'll get to Jan. The recent thing I read about how important wildlife corridors are for our quality of life. Hours of operation is something I think we can comment on. Idling. We do have an anti-idling ordinance. It does require county enforcement. Would encourage you to put your heads together, perhaps support others in town that might be in favor of citizen reporting for anti-idling. New York City has it. Would take some legislation or an ordinance in Franklin, but that would allow you to go out there with your cell phone and record an idler and send it over the internet to the county, and it would be on record. That could make a big difference rather than waiting for someone to come from Somerville. And lastly, on the warehouse guidance, it's a wonderful document. I'm very glad the state brought it out. It came out after our zoning was in effect. I encourage all of you to help us and to help the planning board as we step forward into our next master plan to put a sustainability and environmental overlay on the entire Franklin Township master. And lastly, to Andrew for the Green Amendment. I'm a supporter of the Green Amendment for the Generations. I'm very happy to have you come forward, and I would like to see, I will make a motion when we get into business that we provide a resolution to the council that we support the township.
thank you. You mentioned the migratory birds. I've been told that the Sandhill crane uses the Metlers area as a way station. So that's something that, bring that up. Yeah. Look. No, we're just, she wanted to, Robin is responding to the public comment. Yeah, we can do that. But now, if that's all the comments we have, we're going to get into site plan. Now, we would, well, Ted, is Ted going to go first, or is Easy going to go first? Oh, Easy has to leave at 8:30, so he's going to do a short one, and then Ted will do B9. Here's the microphone.
That's the, it's the Royal Somerset, yeah. Royal Somerset, Inc. Document. Yeah. The project name for this particular site plan is Royal Somerset Inc., located on Davidson Avenue, Somerset. And what they're requesting is a variance along with a subdivision. Yeah, a subdivision. My immediate recommendation is the application is very poorly written. It needs a lot of more details that can help me assess the quality of the request. I want to go off with the first point with respect to the variance. So this site was approved in 2006 for the hotel. So it's an hotel. If you just blow up the image on page number 3, if you go down another page. And I'm seeking help from the members over here to help me make a good determination. So if you look at the area that is highlighted in the green boundary, that is what the property owners claim to be the area that they want to use, but that's not a part of the whole lot. The whole lot, if you go to the image above, you look at the right-hand side, that blue zoned area is the area which I just pointed out, but the entire site is the one marked in the red, right? So they are requesting that site to be divided for a reason mentioned for financing, right? With no justification what the financing purposes is going to be and what it is going to be used for. My biggest concern from this application is the request is to construct a 24 feet wide access road across an unnamed tributary to the Raritan River, and it is located on the lot number 4702. So if you look at this particular image, and you can just blow it up again, all three of them together. So on the bottom left image, you see that little arch forming. That is the arch is what they want to create, and that arch is something that they want to put the 24 feet wide. It's called something. Like a bridge. Yeah, like a bridge, and they say it is a long span arch culvert and a relief box culvert. The reason for that hasn't been stated. Why they need to do that? What is the purpose of that particular arch and that particular driveway or a driveway? For the mere fact, what I felt based on reading on the application is that that's going to be used for the lot, which they're proposing a separate lot for financing purposes. It's going to be an entryway for that lot. My assumption is that, but it hasn't been sort of delineated in an explanation why they're asking for this particular C variance. It's a bulky C variance, a lot of construction. If you look at the geography of the area, it's a wetland, highly forested area. There is no mention of how many trees are going to be cut down, but they've indicated that they would replace 12 big trees and 13 shrubs only. It's a highly wildlife populated area, so if there is any of this construction going to happen, there's going to be sort of at least a temporary, loss of the wildlife, but we do not know when the new proposed lot is going to be used for financing purposes and what comes in there, what's going to happen to the wildlife.
And what is that?
It says, it's BC, B1, B.
Yeah, it's
all
could be a
right.
warehouse.
Yeah.
It could be something.
Yeah.
And this arch,
It's across the river, the little tributary. It's going to be built over it.
A stream.
so it's to carry water
Yeah.
over the stream.
Right over it.
underneath.
Oh,
Over.
it's a bridge to drive over. It's a vehicle
It's a
bridge.
vehicle bridge, paved.
One might ask whether the arch will bear heavy truck traffic.
So the reasoning has not been stated, so my request in this, so I have not given any recommendations, and I'm going to write it down and send it tomorrow, is a detailed explanation of why we are asking for this variances, just not, do you want to do this arch and the pavement, and what does financing purposes mean for the separate lot that they're asking for? What does that mean? How will it affect the future? That's...
Thank you. So I just want to be clear, so you're proposing that we don't send any comments just yet to the planning board, but that our comment is that we need more information, not that we have any recommendations yet? Okay.
Ted, do you want this microphone?
Okay, before, I have a page of comments here which are really distinguishing the latest plan from the last preceding plan. I think the latest plan is now the third one that we've seen for the B9 warehouse. But before that, I want to say something about essentially how we got to where we are. And I think some of it is, a good deal of it is that the planning board and the council didn't think ahead enough. Ideally, when the scenic corridor was adopted, we should have rezoned these 3 lots to residential. It's always a problem wherever a business zone abuts a residential zone. There's just no avoiding it. But if we'd had the R40 zoning there, where there already are 2 houses, we wouldn't have the problem we have today. But I also make the point that the original M1 zoning of the area was adopted in 1998, about the same time as the general development plan for Canal Walk. And the general development plan at that time was going to have a business center in that corner of the Canal Walk track where Bryant Court is now, and it was only very recently that it, well, first they developed the business center, small shopping center, whatever you would call it, at the corner of Randolph and Schoolhouse, and therefore abandoned the idea of a shopping area at that corner of the Canal Walk track and instead developed the houses on Bryant Court. But the other part, so ideally, the planning board would have taken those 3 lots out of the BI zone at some point in the past, but we didn't. I think we tend to think about zoning in general terms and much less about specific points of conflict, although there are rules about spot zoning of making changes on the zoning of one lot. The other part of the problem is due to the development industry and the legislature. Some years ago, the legislature, under pressure from the building community, passed a law saying that when a development plan was proposed, they could rely on the zoning in place when, not exactly when they submitted their plan, but when the planning department concluded that what they submitted was complete for the requirements. And this was to deter exactly what the council has tried to do in this case, changing the zoning as when an undesirable project is proposed. Therefore, the planning board has to consider this as something, a proposal allowed by the zoning of the area. And as I said, the zoning goes back 25 years. I'm pretty sure I'm probably the only one here who was involved that long ago. Okay, now I want to comment on the latest plans. And they claim that this plan requires no variances, as all parking, detention basins, constructed wetland, etc., are beyond the 100-foot setback which is required along both Metlers Road and Schoolhouse Road. This might be contested on the grounds that even the proposed berms are structures. The ordinance says no structures within the 100-foot setback, which is usually it's 50 feet, but when there's a scenic corridor, it's 100 feet, as I'm sure you all know by now. I would comment that if you have a legal hook, it would be on this, what several people have spoken to, that this is going to be a fulfillment center, not a warehouse. And we'll bring that up at the planning board, and we'll see what Mark Healy's response is to that. They respond in a special document with this new application to all of the points previously raised by the Environmental Commission. But for most points, and they just say testimony to be provided, and these are points including that we had made in responding to the previous application: solar panels on the roof, charging capacity for trucks, white noise as warning for forklifts backing instead of the beep, beep, beep. Limitation of hours at which trucks could come to the property, that would be a real sticking point. Bicycle repair station, we always ask not just for bicycle racks, but for a station at which minor repairs of bicycles can be carried out. They say that an operation and maintenance manual for the constructed wetland will be provided, but they're silent as to who will do the operation and maintenance, the tenant or the owner. They respond to many comments from CME, which is the firm which acts as township engineer, on landscaping, down to providing milkweed for monarch butterflies to feed on. And the CME comments are based on more knowledge about landscape design than I have, and I endorse their comments. And as I say, the applicant has tried to respond positively to those comments. The buildings proposed are somewhat smaller. Building A, which is the one closer to Metlers Road, will be 144,450 square feet versus 171,365 originally proposed. Building B, the smaller building, will be 70,970 square feet versus 73,600 originally proposed. This is presumably due mainly to our fire prevention office requiring a fire lane around the rears of the buildings. The parking is 73 spaces for Building A versus 90 in the previous plan, 32 for Building B versus 43 previously, with 4 and 2 charging stations respectively. That's put in response to the Environmental Commission. They do propose to keep more existing trees, notably along Schoolhouse Road, but also in a rear corner of the property, and I think of several more along Metlers. And even the earlier proposals did do show keeping the trees right at the corner of Metlers and Schoolhouse. They're still removing 406 trees with a replacement requirement of 832, whereas in the previous plan it was 532 to be removed with a replacement requirement of 1,052. They propose to plant 573 trees, mainly on berms along Schoolhouse Road and Metlers Road, versus proposing planting 232 in the previous plan. They will testify about planting trees along the Canal Walk side of Metlers Road. The berms that they're now proposing would rise the top would be 92 feet above sea level, which is 4 feet above the floor level of both buildings. Obviously, this does not itself do much to reduce visibility of the buildings, but the berms are to be copiously planted with trees and bushes which will eventually screen the buildings. Berms have many rows of evergreens making nearly complete screens, with deciduous trees among them. Notably, they do not use spruce or fir, just pines, white pine and Virginia pine, arborvitae and American holly. I have our usual concern about white pines losing their lower branches, though if they're planted below the rise of the berm, this will not initially be a problem. Eventually, the would-be branch loss farther up the trunk, which would expose the building. I don't know whether the Virginia pines have this problem. By the time that branch loss exposes the building, it'll be a decades-old feature of the streetscape, and the deciduous trees will screen it in summer. They also propose planting red maple and river birch in the bioretention basins, along with various bushes. And I would comment that there's a general requirement that at the very least, development not exceed the runoff from the property before development, and indeed generally that it be reduced. And the idea of the retention basins and the pond is that when there's a heavy rain, those will fill up and then they release water more slowly into the pond or lake on the property and the stream, which then flows through Canal Walk. It just occurs to me now that if there is ponding of water on Metlers Road, it may be the larger culvert is needed under Metlers Road so that the water is carried through into the brook and does not accumulate on Metlers Road. However, those of you who live in proximity to the brook on Canal Walk property may have thoughts about that. But I'm sure, now, the Environmental Commission does not get the stormwater management plan. That goes only to the township engineer. In some municipalities, the Environmental Commission does get and comments on the stormwater plan, but usually it's very largely a technical matter that it really takes an engineer to comment on effectively. And I hope that we will hear specifically from CME about the stormwater plan. I have some concern that the trees to be planted to the southwest of the constructed wetland may shade the wetland too much, though the trees to be planted closest to it are American holly, which don't grow so high. You know, the constructed wetland, there would be a pond with the spatterdock, which are yellow-flowered water lilies, and duckweed we criticized the earlier plan for saying that duckweed was an ornamental grass. And then there would be a marsh area around that, and then what they call a semi-wet area, which is where the swamp milkweed and cardinal flower and marsh marigold would be planted. And presumably, the water could rise in this area when there is a heavy rain and then be released. The whole point of retention basins, of course, is that the water be released slowly over a longer period of time so that there is not flooding downstream. But as I say, we can't comment on how effective these plans are. And the constructed wetland is shown to have a pool water height of 75.5 feet above sea level, which seems to be the same height as the buffer area outside through which it is to drain. One would think that there would be at least somewhat of a drainage channel there, but actually the more you can distribute the water flowing out of the pond, the more is either absorbed or at least is slowed on its way to the existing pond and its brook. The lighting plan shows 0-foot candles behind the lights which light the parking lot along Building A, but surely some light will be reflected off the building. To minimize night visibility from Canal Walk, the cutoff for these lights should be as low as possible, illuminating the building only as high as the tops of the doors in this facade. You have to have that for security, but we don't want to have the whole facade lit up at night for I think fairly obvious reasons. Obvious to the residents of Bryant Court. So those are the new comments I have that are really on the update of the plan. And as I say, because of the way the property was zoned long ago, we really can't deal with the major comments that many of you have made. I mean, they have a right to build there, and if the planning board turned them down, we would be sued and we would lose. Presumably, they're eliminating all variances so that there's nothing that the planning board can't turn down. So that's
Ed,
what I have to say.
you made the comment about hours of operation that you kind of sounded like you didn't think we'd have a shot at getting that. I understand from the planning board attorney of Piscataway, they did successfully make that part of their ordinance recently in Piscataway. In their redevelopment district, they limited the hours of operation of warehouses. So maybe that's a helpful.
Oh, I think it's quite possible. It's certainly something that the planning board should consider and has considered in other cases and has succeeded in getting in other cases, although I don't know that these were warehouses. But I think that is something which I hope we can get. But as I say, they did not we called for this. They did not respond to that call. They just said testimony to be provided, which could mean that they're going to come in and say that it's absolutely necessary to have 24/7 use. But I would think that a fulfillment center actually would require 24/7 operation less than a true warehouse, because it's the trucks taking things out from a fulfillment center, after all, deliver during the daytime.
And I think having a neighbor and contiguous municipality that's got that restriction, it's not like Franklin would be selected against then. We would be keeping with others immediately by.
So my biggest concern is testimony to be provided, right?
Yeah.
That's my biggest concern. What does it mean for them?
Well, testimony will be provided means we don't know what they're going to say. Whether they say, yes, we'll accept what is proposed, or no, we won't, and for these reasons. I certainly think that I would hope that the planning board will take a firm position on hours of operation.
On those items to be advised during testimony, because they give testimony, does that allow then the planning board to say, thank you, we've received the testimony, and then give the planning board time to think on it? They don't have to respond immediately, do they?
Chance to see that again.
We expect that there's going to be 2 or 3 more hearings. So the planning board might not respond immediately and might respond at a later session. Or we may say things right away. No, we insist on this.
Parking spaces, I'm sorry, the charging station sufficient for the amount of parking spaces?
According to the 4% rule, they are more than sufficient. Well, the 2 at Building B are sufficient. What would be required, yeah, I think 4 would be required for Building A, and that's what they've got.
And because solar is to be responded to later with testimony, they also say if you don't put solar on the roof, put it over the parking areas?
Yeah. Yeah, given that Amazon has it on the roof, I don't see why they shouldn't, and by now they can sell it if there's excess electricity from them over the building's needs, they can sell it to a consumer community solar farm to be then sold to the general public.
I also think that particularly when it comes to the complaint about the diesel particulate emissions, and I think during the last comments I mentioned that they should make enough capacity for the trucks, and I think I made very low estimate. I think it should be 100 kilowatt per bay.
Yeah.
They're going to respond to the testimony. So speaking of electric trucks, this Saturday was EV show at the Trenton Computer Festival, and one was displayed. It was huge, Peterbilt, and it charges at 350 kilowatts. So there'll be more of them coming. This one specific is reserved for Long Island.
I guess my last question is this whole issue of the scenic corridor, where I got up and spoke to the planning board about it a month or so ago. I realize our zoning permits this, but if it's immediately, directly in conflict with our definition of a scenic corridor, is there enough grounds there to say this doesn't comply because of scenic corridor?
I haven't specifically considered that, but I think that it complies because the main thing there is the 100-foot setback, and certainly they are now proposing to plant trees on berms to make it less unscenic. They do not propose a fence at this time, and that's actually something that Mark Healy had brought up, to have a fence atop the berm.
But that was in that 4-pager, there was mention about a fence.
Yeah, that was in their response to Mark Healy.
Right. Well, is there any more comments from the commission? Arnie, you have
I wrote down a couple of comments. I'm curious about the applicants planting trees on the Canal Walk property. First, there isn't enough room on the Canal Walk property to plant enough trees to remediate any noise issues by themselves, if that's what the developer's intent was. Second, who would be responsible for maintaining those trees, watering, mulching, staking, and for how long would the developer, if at all, be responsible, or would that be the responsibility and cost to the people of Canal Walk? And if the developer intends to plant trees on Canal Walk property, instead of contributing to the tree fund for those trees, that would be contrary to the township's tree replacement ordinance, and therefore, I believe would require a variance, which the developer now says they're not asking for.
There was a comment in there about, on Canal Walk side, they mentioned a particular phrase, I remember, in the thing about an adjacent area type of thing.
Yeah, that's about all they said.
But if it's on Canal Walk side, our irrigation system is what's going to water those trees.
Well, that's fine, but it's still, according to the tree replacement ordinance, that does not conform with the tree replacement ordinance. So it would still not go towards, they would still have to pay for those trees. Also, so regarding the anti-idling, Robin had mentioned the DEP state, or the county enforcing the DEP state idling regulation. The anti-idling ordinance that this body has prepared and submitted to the Township Council is still under review, so that's not in effect yet. We're still waiting to hear about that.
Arnie, can I just say, they do propose anti-idling signs every fourth loading dock, which we had requested. The plans show that. They do not show anti-idling signs at the entrance of the property or at the offices in the two buildings. So we should continue to ask for anti-idling signs in those locations.
And those are things that we did put in our proposed anti-idling ordinance. There's a lot of signage that we want. And the signage is not just on this site, but on many sites throughout the town. It's an educational process. The idea of it is educating people to the need and what happens when motor vehicles, trucks, idle, and the impact it has on the environment and the people. And as one of the gentlemen said up there, mostly young people and the elderly people, it impacts on them. One other concern I had about the noise when you have two buildings next to each other, and I believe the end of them is facing Schoolhouse Road, and there's residential properties directly across from properties from the warehouses or the fulfillment centers, whatever you want to call them. The noise that's going to be occurring between those two buildings is going to be funneled in both directions to one end or the other. So that noise is going to be funneled towards those properties across Schoolhouse Road. So I don't know if they have any plan to stop that from occurring.
They actually propose what they call a bump out of both buildings. That is, the buildings will be, I don't know quite how to do it, how to describe it, slightly L-shaped at the end nearest Schoolhouse Road. They propose this to make the loading docks less visible from Schoolhouse Road, but presumably it would also diminish the noise coming out of the space between the buildings, as you suggest.
Well, I mean, we can see the L on the picture up there, but there is still the gap that is aimed directly at, I don't know if that's the Summerfields over there or what that is. Pardon me?
That is Summerfield.
Summerfields. So it's still directly aimed at those residents over there, so that noise, and again, as somebody else brought up, as Ted brought up, it's not just the truck traffic coming back and forth. It's the OSHA-required beep, 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 but there are other options that are available rather than using beepers, and they're OSHA-approved, such as light technology, flashing lights instead of beeping. So that might be a better option than having the trucks or the little pieces of equipment running around the property having the beep up backer sounds.
If I may, I would like to make part of our comments the fact that we take exception to this meeting the scenic corridor district overlay. It is clearly not one of the 8 exceptions listed. And there are lots of site requirements, which it may or may not meet. Clearly, number 8, proposed building plans. This is in contravention to exactly what it says under proposed building plans. Does not qualify, and I think we should state that. And that it vacates the value of the scenic corridor for any other application anywhere else in town.
These comments that we are writing down do go to the planning board and the staff as well. So it's all part of the review process. Does that complete what we have? Anything? One of you all set? That's it? Yeah, I think
We made a lot of comments when we reviewed the plans the first time, and a lot of those comments about things that we've all said here tonight, but those still stand. Those comments still stand that we made the first time around.
Ed, do you have anything you want to add? Ed, no? Okay. Well, I guess that completes the review that we're going to, now we have other plans to look at. There is one other one, a small warehouse on Elizabeth Avenue. There's an abandoned house there. They want to build 17,000. Is that what you're doing?
That's mine, yeah.
You want to do that one?
Yeah. This whole thing, I've been like, microphone. Okay. The next one for review is Concord Realty. It is at 403 Elizabeth Avenue. The total acreage of this site is just under 1 acre. What is being proposed is the construction of a 15,425 square foot warehouse with 14,925 of those square feet being the warehouse and 500 being office space. The property is currently home to an abandoned 1,300 square foot single-family residential structure. 13 parking spaces are proposed and 1 loading dock on site. All of the access will be off of a full movement driveway from Elizabeth Ave. Emergency access is being proposed for the rear of the site, and that can be accessed via the apartment complex, which is to the east of the site, as well as on the north via the existing driveway. They are seeking C1 and C2 variants. The C1 variance is because the lot is undersized and lacking in depth. So they're saying the variance is required to provide to accommodate the required parking, circulation, stormwater management. The C2 variance is because the site is located in the BI zone, which their statement is designed for industrial uses such as warehouses. Approving the variances will not lead to any detriment or deviation from the intention of the zoning district. So that's their reasoning for that request. Some of the bulk variances you can see here, the minimum lot size is 2 acres. This is 0.91. Total of 2 side yards has to be 50 feet, and they have a total of 20 feet. The maximum impervious coverage in the BI zone is 60%, and the proposed impervious is 61.1, so just over. No off-street loading or maneuvering is permitted here, and the applicant does propose this in the front building setback. And then the last variance is for the maximum number of signs allowed is 1, and they are proposing 2. This is for some of the bulk variances that are here. So basically, they're saying, although it's in a zone that allows for the use, some of the bulk requirements they're not meeting. No, that's okay. Right. It is. It is. So just some quick comments. So it's not applicable for the solar-ready warehouse legislation because it is under the 100,000 square feet, although we do recommend solar for the roof anyway. 3 trees are proposed for removal, 28 are required for replacement because of the sizes, and the applicant is proposing to put 70 evergreen trees, 2 ornamental trees, and 2 shade trees, so that's a total of 74. We will recommend the anti-idling signage, bike storage. There is a bioretention basin that's being proposed with buffering along Elizabeth Ave, and trees are proposed in all 4 borders. On the east and south of this is residential property. On the north is a single-family residence, existing single-family residence, and on the west there's commercial and industrial uses. As we mentioned, they do need variances for undersized lot and exceedance of impervious coverage, reduction in side yards. Just so you're aware, the bioretention basin along the western boundary is 1,500 cubic square feet of storage, and it's designed to accommodate the 100-year storm. There is a pervious concrete stormwater retention basin also proposed, which is just east of the bioretention that they're proposing. It's going to be pumped directly into a 17,000 cubic foot underground stone storage area. So this is pretty standard for green infrastructure, again designed to accommodate the 100-year storm. And then the proposed concrete walkway and passenger parking areas could use pervious pavement. That was my comment. Again, we propose solar panels, green or cool roof, because they don't have to do the solar ready for the roof because they don't meet that 100,000 square foot minimum. The impervious coverage is exceeded by only 1.1%, so we have commented in the past that is there any way to just get that one, become in conformance because you're only over by such a short amount that it's kind of unnecessary, it seems. Most vegetation and trees proposed on site are native, which I was happy with, and the bioretention garden, they've actually proposed plants that are pollinators, which I think is commendable. Our comments would be the bike storage, the anti-idling signage, reducing the impervious coverage to come into conformance with the zoning district limitations. 1 EV charging station is required, and again, the solar-ready roof or solar panels on the roof and/or green or cool roof technology. So that is the recommendations for that. Yes. Yeah.
Having done some of this work on potential tree ordinances, one of the things I read that many towns are now, and I think even New Jersey Future is recommending, is that in tree replacement, where they're taking down deciduous trees, we ask them to replace with deciduous. And where they're taking down evergreen, replace with evergreen. So would anybody object to us making that part of the recommendation? Because clearly, deciduous have much better root structures than the evergreen. They hold up better in a big windstorm. So where we can help keep the deciduous tree population and not have a forest of white pine, as Ted so fondly loves, we'd be better off for it, I think.
Did you say that where there are evergreens, you would replace them with evergreens and deciduous? But what if it's determined that where the evergreens are, it might be better off replacing them with deciduous?
Yeah, we could require a minimum of deciduous for deciduous.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I wouldn't want to make it set in stone that for
But
one.
most of what the land we're talking about in this township, these are forests of deciduous trees. So an all evergreen lot would be an exception in Franklin. So maybe we could word that a little more artfully.
This is really perhaps an ordinance suggestion. In the meantime, we can recommend it.
As you know, we're trying to work on the ordinance side, and the DEP is coming out with model tree ordinance sometime in the next 5 months, so we're kind of waiting for that to act.
Well, I looked at one that we've already looked at twice. The Oscar and Ella Wolf Campus for Senior Living over on Demont here, just down the road. And we looked at it last time, and they've resubmitted it. They are proposing to put up 10 houses and a large solar field. And to do that, in the initial one, they're taking down 7 acres of trees, which is about 2,000 trees. Mostly small ones, but on the calculations, they still have a deficit. They're putting trees around the houses, but they don't want to shade the solar field. So we recommended at that time, and I want to reinforce it again this time. They're part of the Wilf campus. There's a lot of more room on the Wilf campus to plant trees. Mark Healy has already given us the okay to tell them you don't have to confine yourself to this lot and block number. The Wilf campus has a lot of lots and blocks. I drove through, and there are room to put, there's one area where they got a bunch of trees are falling down. I'm trying to get as many trees planted as we can. Everything else, the houses are 5-bedroom, which tells me that this is part of the independent living type of places where you have 5 bedrooms. But I did have an informal talk with a member of the board of directors of Wilf, and he's going to bring it back to the people now. But we got to put it in writing again. I think that's the main comment. Everything else is minor. But if we can get them to put trees elsewhere, and then I made a comment, it's $155,000 they're going to pay for not planting trees. It starts to make it into reasonable money.
Paul, is the only reason they're cutting down trees, or the main reason they're cutting down trees is to put in solar panels?
No, and 10 houses.
Well, I know,
Yeah,
but...
but that's part of it, and there's a detention pond also, that around the houses, there are trees, but not in the solar field area. I think what they're afraid of there is shading. As the trees get bigger, you're gonna cut down the,
So there's nowhere else on the site that they can put the solar panels without cutting down the trees?
No, I don't think, otherwise there's housing and roadways but.
How about requiring that they
green areas.
put solar panels on the houses? If they need variances, how about part of the bartering deal that they require solar panels on the houses instead of having to cut down all these trees?
I think that's gonna be our main comment, is find elsewhere to put some trees.
And elsewhere to put solar panels.
Elsewhere to put solar panels, yeah.
There is. And if can you pull it up? Some of those- there it is. Those gray areas, the rings are 400 feet long. It's a lot of solar.
A lot of trees coming down.
A lot of trees coming down. It seems like, solar's good, but trees are, how do you make the balance? The trees have been there before before Wolf was there.
This is blatantly wrong way how to make renewable energy.
Yes, yeah.
If they have parking lots, that's where solar belongs and on the roof.
Let's add that to the options. We've learned, personally, we've learned the Canal Walk that what canopy lighting canopy solar can be done. Not cheap, but this is not going to be cheap either.
Plus, there is no guarantee that the solar panels will be there for as long as the trees would be, because they can change their mind.
I think that's our major comments. We can, the options on the. There were two others. Let me see what the other ones, well, here's the Wilf one. This is, oh, that's B9. No, that was Ted's B9. There's another one, let's see what this one is. These just came in the end of last week. Royal Somerset Inn, is that the one that's the one, that's the one we done?
It should be 30.
This is Elizabeth, oh, this is the small warehouse.
That's
You did that one. Oh, no, there's two others. This is on Hamilton Street. Again, we've looked at this one before as well. It's stores on the first level and residential above it. Exactly. I think our comments that we did last time are still good. They haven't done much. There's no parking for the commercial. There's only parking for the residences.
Yeah, I think they assume park on the street.
Yeah, yeah.
Comment I have on that, not really environment. The comment I have, which is not really environmental, is something I bring up at the planning board, is that they assume everybody will go up and down in elevators. And they say, what do they do when the elevators malfunction? I say when, not if. They should have staircases that can be used by building occupants going both ways. I mean, you'd have some sort of security entrance.
No?
You'd have a security for the entrance to the stairways, but they're only showing emergency staircases. But I've heard that they have been obdurate in not responding to suggestions from Mark Healy about the whole design of the property.
Their hearing is. Oh, that has to be in by, March 7th is dated, but it says, must be reviewed and submitted to comments no later than April 4th. So this is going to be held in April. So you have comments about that, about the elevator, or not having an elevator?
Yeah. What I'm worried is I will be away for the second planning board meeting in April. I don't know what I'll miss.
Well, if she's only wanted, yeah, this would be the second meeting. If that has to be by April 4th, then it's the second meeting in April when they'll hear that one.
Yeah.
If it's on time. I think we've covered them all. 31 Voorhees. I think we did that one, didn't we?
No, we haven't.
No? This is 403 Elizabeth. This is the little warehouse. That one. This is Royal Somerset. Isn't that the one?
Same thing
That's the bridge over troubled waters. Isn't it? That's the driveway access. Yeah, that's where they want to put a driveway in. That's what they call driveway access.
Now, 31 Voorhees would be in the redevelopment area.
Yeah, this is, I guess we don't have that one here. Can you pull?
Yeah, I have it. Microphone, please?
Sure.
Where's all my tabs? Okay, so 31 Voorhees is up, we have this up here now too. So this is for preliminary and final site plan, demolishing the existing industrial building and proposing 4-story mixed-use building with a building footprint of 57,319,000 square feet. It includes commercial uses, a parking garage on the ground floor, 3 stories of residential dwellings above. Did this one last meeting, yes, okay, all right. Did we make our comment? Did we do it though, or did we just get it and?
No, I don't think we've done it.
I think we got it, but we didn't, yeah.
Yeah,
We got it, but we didn't get to it.
it
Yeah.
came in so late that it. time to review
So I'll
it.
just pull it up quickly here. Let's see. An industrial building is there right now.
But that was buoyed.
And so now they are proposing, this is the site plan. So they're proposing, it's a mixed-use residential and commercial parking garage on the bottom floor, 3 stories of residential, and, hold on, I have to go back to remember what I said.
But I think that was a different.
That was different, no. No. This is proposed 4-story mixed-use building, gross floor area of 171,043, commercial uses, parking garage on ground floor, 3 stories of residential. And this is on Voorhees Drive. Yeah,
Keeping with what's already.
it is, yeah,
This is Voorhees and Route 27.
yes.
Is this the one that proposed the green roof over the parking?
No, that was,
That's the one we
because we
did
looked at that
consider.
last time. That was IDL Davidson, that's what we looked at last time. This is the new one. There's really not, now again, we just got this one, so I haven't had a ton of time to, look at it in detail, but. Is it there on the sheet or no? No, we don't even have the sheet yet. So yes, it probably can wait most likely till next time. It's brand new, so. Okay. Because it's like, yeah. Okay, hang on, just put that.
For the communications subcommittee, we're still waiting for feedback on the, from IT. Somebody turn off one of the other ones, please. Much better. We're still waiting for feedback from IT on all of our changes. I know I'd made a note for the last meeting that, back on the website to please provide it, because we're going to review the website again, but wasted effort if there's been no changes to our lengthy request.
There we go. I did put those in. I just haven't, so I'll keep following up on it for sure. Yep, I'll follow.
Them directly or or to press in some other direction?
I can keep pressing and then I'll let you know when we have to, for sure. But I am pressing and hopefully it should be up soon because I submitted them right away, so,
That was
yeah.
quite some time ago.
I know.
That was almost 3 months ago.
Yeah, yep. Okay.
We're also still looking for any volunteers that might like to help us with social media. That, yeah? All right, we got to volunteer, because we'd like to have more things out there, but forte, so if you can stick around a little bit, let's connect, thank you.
Yeah, it's a little bureaucratic because it all has to go through
the township, but
But I think we build it,
Right.
it's easier for them to approve
if we
it.
can make it easier for them, it'll be better.
Okay.
Admittedly, I could do it, but I have too many.
We're going to meet eventually with Mark Haley, Robin, and Stan and I to talk about the sustainability, the plan. And also, the mayor has asked us to look at water and water conservation. So that's another, maybe, keep talking about the possibility of a stormwater utility. So those are things we're going to discuss with Mark Healy and then bring back to everybody as we get some guidance.
Ted had also mentioned that we should, to talk about, so we have a stormwater utility page on our website. Has anybody looked at it? It says applications are due by some date in 2018. It's a little out of date. And we have a whole slew of new requirements about public education coming up now that we have to do between now and between now and 2025. So to do that at the same time we look at stormwater utilities would.
Okay, any other committee, anything else? Maria, yes.
Okay, our committee met, and we were planning on working with the youth center in the summer. So we had a meeting with a program coordinator, and they're looking into what are the procedures for us be able to work with their kids. They have procedures in place, maybe fingerprinting, I don't know. And then they would like us to do a 6-week minimum program, twice a week, an hour and a half. More to come.
Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead, Maria.
For the high school fair, we just, we haven't decided yet if the committee is going to participate with the table. And the school is just waiting for us. They're going to provide the table. We just have to decide who's going to be there, or we're going to take turns. April 29.
What are we going to do at the table?
Oh, that's another thing. I think I emailed that. What will be the information that we're going to share with them, what the commission wants to share with the school and the community. Are we going to make handouts, copies, or if you prefer QR codes like we did last time?
I suggest maybe you want to get Andrew Tan to be, that could be a nice thing to bring to the Franklin environmental kids. Because if Andrew goes to prep, and this is Franklin High, I'm sure he'd be happy to share the word with Franklin High senior, or high students as well.
Oh, sorry again. Rena just informed me that she is interested in sitting at the table for us if we do, and she just needs more information on it to make sure she can be there at the times. But if we can give her the information, she's happy to sit at the table.
And Andrew, you like that idea too? You available?
Wait, what time did you say again?
It's April 29th. I didn't say what time. Do we know?
It's something like 10 to 2.
Yeah, I'll see if I can make time for that day. All right.
There will be electric vehicle show there as well. Yes. Electric vehicle show will be there. I'm leading it.
I can send Alex. Yeah.
circulate it. Our next meeting, we'll discuss it. And this meeting had a lot of other stuff. The C says hot topics. We added that title last time.
I think stormwater utilities should be a hot,
Okay,
and the MS4.
right.
Rena actually has been doing some research for the MS4 permits, so she's gonna continue keeping an eye on it, and then she'll be able to talk about it more, probably next time.
Community spectrum. You talked about that last.
I did, yeah, no new updates at this point for that. Community energy plan, no new update just yet. We're still working on just getting that kind of going in its initial phase. The local health assessment and action plan and grant, I continue to work on the drafting of it due to data and, but we're almost there, so it's getting close. And adopt a drain program, we have 103 adopters, I think it is now. Few more adopters, few more cleanings, which is great.
The Zoom meeting tomorrow night of the ANJAC Environmental Commissioners, and they've asked me to talk about the Adopt a Drain program, which is why Deanie was here. And so I'll be on at 7:40 tomorrow night.
For the stream cleanup, so I have communicated to Councilman Vasanella, to Councilman Potosna, to the Boy Scouts, and I would like to reach out to Girl Scouts. They have been recently honored for their outreach, so I think they would be also good to know. I also notified Chitra, which is the Siwa International.
Yeah, that's Siwa, yeah.
Right? And for the April 19th stream cleanup or area cleanup in Naaman Williams Park, Maria will be leading it. We have secured supplies from Nestle, and I will be communicating to actually I did communicate to DPW request for cartage to remove the garbage for both events.
Okay, that's that one. I think we're up to public comment. Jan's gonna make a comment. That's where you
We
hung
have
out.
to vote.
Oh, we have to vote first. All in favor? Aye. Aye? Okay. Open to public comment. Jan, what do you want, what are you gonna tell us now?
It's just tired, I know Robin's going, okay, it's after 9 o'clock. Jan Brandt, 22 Bryant Court. So a couple things. Question, can a planning board, let's say you make the planning board says to them, hey, we make the recommendation that this can't be 24/7. Can a project be voted down for that? If a planning board? You could think about it. Okay, all right.
Probably go to court.
Okay, all right. The parking lot that's closest to Mettler's, it would be great if that parking, if this is 24/7 and parking, cars are going around and all, and
This is the car parking.
the car parking lot. And it's a lot of parking spaces. I don't know what they need all those parking spaces for, but, can't you, I need your phone for that picture. This project doesn't have to be so big. And the thing is, and I sent this to Tara, I don't know, I know all of you, well, not all of you, but I know a lot of you have daytime jobs and, like reading extra information and all, but there's the scenic corridor ordinance that's like 7 pages long. And in the scenic corridor ordinance, they say areas that are visible from scenic roadways is identified in the township master plan that may exhibit one or more, well, we know what they all are, but pretty much what the scenic corridor says is that we have to preserve its site layout, preservation. All development should promote the preservation and protection of the aesthetic character of natural features. You know, and it seems like the only thing that we're focused on with the scenic corridor is that it's 100 feet back. But I really urge you, and Tara, I sent you that link for the scenic corridor, and you can find, you know, it's 7 pages of ordinances. It's Jan.
I specifically.
I know you read it.
into it. No,
Yeah.
I made sure we recorded into our comments that we're
Okay.
not complying with the scenic
Okay,
corridor.
great. That's
In its
terrific.
entirety, particularly where it says building plans, which is at the very last item in the scenic. Read that. Clearly, this is not
Okay,
in keeping.
perfect.
So
Thank
we
you.
have been intentional about
Okay,
it. We're
okay,
not-
good,
We're not
good.
missing it. But
I-
I do think it's important for all of us to familiarize ourselves with what it says, because it should come up over and over again.
Right, I mean, there's so many, it's 7 pages. When you print it out, it's 7 pages long, or 3, or 4 if you do double
We
side.
are being specific to it.
Okay.
In this application.
Okay, thank you,
That's why I
because.
wanted the minutes attached to the,
Okay, yeah, no, because, and the scenic corridor is literally, Mettler's Road is 33 feet, and I, you know, I don't want to be the one getting out in the middle of the street stopping the trucks, but it's going to drive me crazy, along with many of us. When they say respond during testimony, you know, it's really a shame, because then the Environmental Commission can't comment on what they've commented about, and that seems like they should be upfront, and why can't they disclose that to you, because you're reviewing their plans right now?
Sorry, I asked, does it then come back again?
Right. I mean, that in itself, it's kind of like, you know, let's take the back door, right? The roof, great for solar panels and all. I hope there's no air conditioning. I hope they're not putting any stuff on top of the roof. You know, it would, you know, it's pretty high up as it is now. That would be a shame. Let me just.
Is about equipment on a roof should not be visible from, well,
there's a soil map.
that's generally the case. Put up a parapet if they have.
And those, I just want to, again, this is from the Comprehensive Farmland Preservation Plan. As you could see, I could, right now, I could throw a dart right at the property. As you could tell, I could just, I put a circle around it. So, you know, these are of, it's not a soil of local importance, but these are important soils that are there. And again, like, I think it was Marlon who mentioned that they really haven't dug deep down enough to really identify the soil. And then on the other pretty sheet with the pink colors, as you could see in the statewide plan, and I brought this up at a township meeting once, it is a suburban planning area, and then if you see that little orange area, it's rural environmental sensitive planning area. So that's when you, that's where it comes up as far as in the plans. The other thing that I want to show you is that, so this is just like my sketch of it, right? And so there's Lot 1, and Lot 1 is the one right on Schoolhouse and Mettler's, and then Lot 60 is right behind it. Lot 60 is a split zone lot, right? It is, the top half is business and industry, and the second part of it is residential, and they're planning on subdividing. They have there's another plan, not them, but there's another plan it's in lawsuit now, so you guys don't need to have to comment about this. But another developer bought all these residential properties below, and these residential properties below have closed, and the people were given a certain amount of time, and they have to move out. And then this developer has this property here, which is also known as a horse farm, right?
They want access from the B9.
Well,
and
that's where I'm
they're not
going.
gonna get that.
Well, we don't know that, Paul, because let me finish. I'm worried, I mean, you know, one thing at a time, but this property, so B9 has Lot 60, and they're going to subdivide it, right? And that's residential. However, they're signed on to that project. I have proof, that they will give their Lot 60, and Lot 60 is going to cut down and go to a 600,000 square foot warehouse behind there. Now, I know, Paul, you think it's not going to happen. Who is going to be moving down here, you know, with a warehouse over here? They've already bought up this land. They bought up all this land, all these people. I spoke to one of the people that live in the house. She said it was her dream home. She said she didn't want to move. Somebody kept annoying her, calling her to sell the house. So these people were kind of forced out of their home. You know, I'm at least the one person I spoke to. I don't know about the two other people, but these 3 homes were bought because they heard that this warehouse was being sold. So these properties, so I know everybody has said, oh no, there's no way. But what is going to happen to all this land? It's in a lawsuit right now because the property was, the horse farm was ROL. And so that was changed over to residential now. I don't see how a big warehouse over here and then people are going to live here. And let me add, Franklin High School is right over here. So we're right next to a high school in addition to all these, you know, fumes and all. You know, it's unfortunate that they got their application in. However, they really didn't get their application in time, and I've spoken to Mark Healy about this. Their application, I've been in touch with a person at the DEP, and they, on their application, they checked off that they applied for everything for the wetlands and for the LOI. However, I had recently, in February 14th, I got a notice from the DEP that they just applied. So they applied, they put their application in June, right? They didn't apply for the DEP until February 4th, well, the application February 14th. Their application was not complete. They checked off that they had everything complete there. So, you know, they left that out. And so right now that application to the DEP is being reviewed and whatnot, but it's unfortunate that we have new things in place and we're realizing that things need to be set back 500 feet. And like Dr. Chase said, you were the first person when I got my first notice that I spoke to, you know, about it. And you're like, oh, this is, you know, you were reviewing it. So we know that warehouses should not be less than 200 feet away from homes. We have new ordinances placed, we have guidelines in place. However, because they've had this, most of their application in, you know, we could go ahead and do it. It's kind of, you know, I was in the healthcare business, and if I found out that there was some new cure to something, but, you know, the patient came earlier than that cure came in, am I going to go, no, hold on a second. You know, we've got this new cure, but you're not going to get it because you didn't come to see me till after it was in. And this is really the same thing. These are all the dangers, all the health dangers that are going to be exposed, and we know that, but however, their application was complete, and they're going to sue us. It doesn't seem right. Thank you so much.
Okay, motion, oh, somebody else? Oh.
Slightly different subject. Terry Thorson, 18 Labed Drive in Somerset. Adopt a drain. I realized that our signs disappeared. They disappeared right after the Department of Public Works came down the road. And I think it's probably because I know I put mine, and so did my neighbor. We put them on the, yeah, those little signs. We put them on the little strip of grass between, because it wasn't our property. Sorry, it wasn't our property, so we didn't feel comfortable putting it on somebody's driveway. So instead, we put it in that little strip of grass between the street and the sidewalk. And it was bothering me. Who could have taken these away? And then I realized they were on the street that day. They were cleaning out the sewer in the middle of the street. So I think they're taking them away. You didn't put yours up? Oh, awful. Yeah, why not?